Hello, YouTube, and welcome to D20 Woodworking. I'm your host, Jason, and today we are going over the top 10 aggression allies in Marvel Champions. And the reason we're doing this is a follow-up to the top 10 basic allies that I did before, so if you haven't seen that video, make sure you check it out. But yeah, we're doing the top 10 aggression allies, and as of recording this, these are the ones that are currently out. Now, I will say that I have not received Valkyrie yet, the Valkyrie Hero Pack. So, Thor, Odinson, and Throg will not be on this list. Just FYI, expectations. So, let us dive right in with number 10, and that is Hulk. Hulk is number 10. And honestly, Hulk is probably going to drop down lower. I don't like the randomness of dealing 1 damage to each character. I think that's a huge detriment, especially when a lot of times my allies that I like have 2 life and I just attacked with them. Kind of makes him useless. And I don't like the idea of just discarding Hulk, right? He has this 5 life. He's supposed to be swinging for a lot each time. Doesn't work great. Now, if you can guarantee a strength resource being discarded each time, I think it's absolutely worth it. I do. I think he makes a lot of sense. But until that, he's not great. I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, number 10, Hulk. All right, number 9, Angela. I really like the idea of Angela. I like the idea of 0 cost, and a lot of times with aggression, you're trying to get minions out there to kind of help the rest of your deck go. And I like the idea of how she works with get minions out there. Now, the downside of this, of course, is you're fighting a villain that isn't minion heavy. Then you're probably not gonna be able to play her, right? You'll search the top 10 cards and there'll be nothing there, and nothing happens to Angela, and you lost a resource. Again, there's ways to get around that in the sense of, just play villains that have more minions than don't. So, again, I like the idea. I like that she has 3 health. You can essentially use her twice. So 0 cost, 4 attack, and then a block at the end with only putting 1 minion, especially if it's a weaker minion into play. I like the idea of that. I really do. And I think she'll move up in my list unless some other like top tier stuff comes out. But it's one of those things I still have to experiment with her more and more. So, number 9, Angela. Number 8, with no image, is Bug. So, Bug is your 2 cost, 1 attack, 1 thwart, 2 health. Now, after your hero makes a basic attack, you heal 1 damage from Bug. I think there can be a lot of good with this card. I just don't think I'm there yet with it. I'll be honest. I like the idea of being able to thwart over and over and over, right? You thwart for 1, take 1 consequential, do 2 damage with your ally or your hero, and then heal Bug, and he can keep thwarting 1 each round. That can be really helpful, and that can help keep things in check. It just seems in practice it doesn't always work out that well. Something usually attacks your allies. You need a cheap block sometimes, whatever. Bug is one of those allies you want to get out like your 2nd or 3rd ally. It's not your main one. So again, I like the idea of him. I like that it's easy to heal him, but I haven't found a ton of use for him yet. I think I need to try harder with them and see if I can figure him out more builds. So let's go on to the next one. But before we do, I have a little note here for you. You should subscribe. That'd be really cool if you did. Because if you made it this far, most likely you're somewhat interested in this content. And did you know that roughly about 30 to 40% of people that watch these videos don't subscribe? And it's free. All you have to do is hit that button below. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. Get updates. Get other videos that are like this that are pretty cool. It lets you know when I go live as well, which is also pretty cool. And if you really don't like the content, you can unsubscribe later, but I don't think you're going to want to. So it'd be really cool if you hit that button. All right, so let's get down to the next one. So Bug. Next we have up is Thor at number 7. So I like Thor. I really like Jane Foster Thor. Just 4 costs is really hard to swallow a lot in this deck, I'll be honest. Again, a lot of heroes that tend to go toward aggression have smaller hand sizes, and Thor's basically your entire hand, right? So if you have no other allies out there and you're playing maybe if you're playing a villain that isn't minion heavy, this card makes a lot of sense, right? Being able to do 3 damage plus then she swings for another 2, huge. I mean, it's 5 damage plus whatever you're swinging, absolutely huge. I can see where the value is there. But again, anytime you build a minion deck, which is what most of the aggression cards want you to do, she doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I think they will come out with more and more aggression cards that kind of walk that back a little bit, right? That have you swinging heavier and heavier at the villain. She starts to make a lot more sense then. So as of right now, I think she's a solid 7, but I do see a lot of ability to move upward on this list. I do think that will happen with her. So, all right. Number 6 is basically the minion version of her, right? Valkyrie comes in and she deals 2 damage to a minion unless she spends an energy resource. Then she does 3 damage to a minion. As minions get more and more strong, or more powerful and stronger and have more life, I think she's more and more playable. Again, a lot of the newer minions that are a little more difficult have 5-6 life in the boxes, so to be able to knock out 3 and then attack with Valk, or play an event card, I think is really huge. I think this card is actually going to go up more with some of the builds that are out there for minion slaying. 3 cost is not that bad, and 2 attack and 3 life. So overall, I think it's a good card. I hope they keep working on Asgard cards, and if there's other support cards that come out for Asgard, I think that will help a lot. But yeah, I think she'll also move up the list slowly, because I do see minions getting more and more prominence in villain decks. So that's number 6, Valkyrie. So number 5 is She-Hulk. So She-Hulk, I think might be on the way down, because I was really hoping they would support Gamma, and it really seems like they're not gonna. Now, the way I play She-Hulk is I look at it as, okay, I paid my 4 costs, but I could do 2 thwart off the bat, which is what I really want, because a lot of aggression cards don't do a lot of thwarting. But again, as more and more cards start kind of doing thwarting, this card becomes worth less and less and less. But the 2 consequential damage, I think, is actually a good thing, because then the next round she can swing for 3. And that's kind of huge, instead of having to swing for like 2 and then go into 3 the following round. I like being able to do that right off the bat, and if you want to in the very last hand, swinging for 4 instead of using it as her blocker. Swinging for 4 with an ally, I think is huge, even for cost. But again, I like the idea of actually thwarting the 2 in the beginning, keeping that in check, and then she has 2 damage on her, so she can start being way more aggressive quicker. Again, the problem is I think she's going to slowly keep moving down this list. As more and more event cards come out and other cards come out, I think she makes less and less sense. So anyway, number 5, She-Hulk. Number 4 is Brawn. Now, maybe you can see kind of a trend here. I like to be able to thwart with aggression, not in the traditional sense, right? I don't want to thwart with my hero or anything like that. And I'm not necessarily playing thwart events, but I want to be able to keep everything. I want to keep all this stuff on the scheme in check, right? I want to keep it at least a little bit down, buy myself a little bit more time. And Brawn, I think, helps to do this, especially at 3 costs with 5 life. Every time he attacks, he's thwarting for 1, which is just nuts. I think that's a really, really good card overall. You can do it 4 times, essentially. So it's a 4 attack, 4 thwart for 3 costs, and then a blocker. I'll take that all day. I'll be honest. I'll take that all day. I think that's good. I think it's a solid card. I'm a big fan of Brawn. I think he stays in top 5. He might dip a little bit, but overall he stays. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his card. So number 4, Brawn. Number 3 is going to be a newcomer to the list. That's Marvel Boy. Now, the reason I think Marvel Boy is good is 2 costs, nice and cheap, 2 life. Good, you can use him and then use him as a blocker. 0 thwart, okay, whatever. But the 2 attack, I think, is kind of the big thing here, with the option of the interrupt. And the reason being is because if you spend a physical resource, this attack gains piercing and range. What we have seen recently through Steady and Stalwart, or I'm sorry, Steady and enemies coming in with toughness and whatnot, is that it's getting harder and harder to deal damage to these enemies. I shouldn't say with Steady. I should just say with enemies coming in with toughness, right? It seems like more and more are coming in with statuses, and it's getting harder to put statuses on cards, and they seem to be focusing on this a little bit in this game. I think we're going to see more and more villains with villain cards that add tough on. It's just an easy way to do it. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they start allowing them to like double up on tough, right? Have 2 levels of tough. I think cards that can pierce on command is huge. I think it's absolutely huge. And I think what we've seen with Zola is that Retaliate can really mess up your deck if you don't plan well, especially for solo. And I think having a ranged attack helps a lot, right? So now Retaliate does not knock out Marvel Boy, and you can still use him as a blocker. I think that's huge. Or you just use him twice as a Pierce on command, and Retaliate won't affect you. Also really good to see. I'm a big fan of Marvel Boy. I see him being used in a bunch of decks. But yeah, as we move forward with these decks, I personally think we will start seeing on enemies double tough. I think you have to break tough twice. It would not surprise me. So being able to have piercing on command, I think will be huge. I think it'll be absolutely huge. So number 2, Spider-Girl. Spider-Girl was always, back in the day, kind of a guaranteed spot in my deck. And I think she's falling down. Now, again, a lot of times you're building these decks to deal with minions, and the fact that she can come in and stun and confuse a minion is huge, right? Delays that minion for a whole turn because maybe you can't deal with it, especially as they get stronger. But I do see, again, moving forward, the minions are going to have either steady or stalwart, I think. And you're not going to be able to stun and confuse them. It's not happening yet, but I do see that happening with certain minions down the road, or happening more frequently, I should say, with certain minions down the road. And it's going to make her a little bit less useful in general. Now, she'll be great against the older villains still. But again, moving forward, I personally think we're going to see that just to help up the difficulty and make things more challenging and different and interesting. And that's going to make her not as valuable as she previously was. So right now, I still think she's a solid number 2. I will always include her in my deck, especially with 2 attack, 2 cost, 2 life. You can attack her twice. Like I said, stun and confuse a minion if they're out there, and then use her as a cheap block. I'm a big fan of that, but I think moving forward, we'll slowly see her worth less and less. So last, my number one. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure this is going to be controversial or not. Number 1 is Wasp. Now, I don't know how many people like Wasp. I feel like I never see her brought up on forums. I see her in like a couple of aggression decks, but generally I don't. And I think it's because of the energy resource scares people off, and I get it. I do get it in that sense. But I think as a 0 cost, right, her PIM counter goes up to a maximum of 3 for each energy resource you overpay on Wasp. Okay. I think the card pool is large enough now with aggression that you can get a decent amount of good energy cards in your hand and get her out there. And I think being able to do 3 attack and then use her as a blocker, or 3 attack twice and then use her as a blocker, or 3 attack twice and use her, or not use her as a blocker, just have her, like, you know, fade out. I think it's huge. I think 3 attack is huge. I mean, that's as good as most heroes, or that's as good as some of the best heroes out there without attachments or anything. I think she's super useful in that sense. It's nice that, again, most of the time you're going to be dealing with minions. She's there to deal with the villain, right? I'm a big fan of Wasp. Everyone knows I kind of have a soft spot for Wasp in general, but I think she's good. I continue to put her in my deck just because it's a cheap card, and it's so versatile in what it can do. So that's my number 1 aggression card as of what's out there right now. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your top 10 is. Let me know what you agree or disagree or think I might have wrong or done differently with my decks. Or if there's any aggression allies that are coming out soon that you're really excited for. Maybe by the time this comes out, there will be more. And there's some new allies to talk about that I should be mentioning. So once again, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I really do. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe if you like this content. Like I said, it really helps out the channel, and it's something I greatly appreciate. So thank you. Take care.